Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something pretty personal, and honestly, a question that really divides people when it comes to raising kids, especially kids who are dealing with anxiety.
You've probably heard this a million times, right? Suck it up, buttercup. For generations, this was pretty much the standard advice for a kid who was struggling. The thinking was, you build resilience by just pushing through the hard stuff.
But then you have this other perspective. A whole lot of people are looking back at their own childhoods and saying, wait a minute, that tough love approach, it actually did more harm than good. They're talking about real, lasting scars.
So, which one is it? Is tough love the answer, or is it empathy? Well, that's what we're here to figure out. We're going to look at the science, we're going to look at the real-life stories behind teen anxiety. Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first. We need to be on the same page about what anxiety even is, because it's way more than just being scared. Let's unpack how a normal feeling can actually become a serious clinical problem. Check out this number, 31%. According to the National Institutes of Health, nearly 1 in 3 adolescents has an anxiety disorder. Think about that. That makes it the single most common mental health issue for teenagers. And here's the kicker. It's also the one that gets treated the least.
So we're not just talking about being scared of a test. An anxiety disorder is this constant, persistent state of worry that really gets in the way of daily life. And for teens, this is so important, it might not even look like what you'd call worry. It often shows up as physical stuff, like constant stomach aches or headaches, or even things like refusing to go to school or acting out.
And this isn't just in their head. It's a real physical thing happening in the brain. Brain scans show that for anxious kids, a part of the brain called the amygdala, it's like the brain's smoke detector, is just way too sensitive. It goes into overdrive even for things that aren't a real threat.
And this isn't some abstract scientific finding. It has huge real-world consequences. I mean, listen to this story. A person's friend gets pulled over in a routine traffic stop, and their anxiety is so intense they can't even answer the officer's questions. It ends with them handcuffed on the sidewalk. That's so much more than just being a little nervous.
All right, so that brings us to the next big question. Where does all this worry actually come from? Why do some teens struggle so much with it? Well, as you'll see, it's not just one thing. It's a really complex mix of biology, their environment, and what they've been through.
Researchers have zeroed in on a few key risk factors. For some, it starts with their basic temperament. That kid who's always been a bit shy or cautious. Then there's genetics, which is a big one. If your parents have anxiety, you're up to 5 times more likely to have it too. That's a combination of the genes you inherit and the environment you learn from.
And then there's the environment, which can be an incredibly powerful trigger, and sometimes it's just devastating. This story from Reddit, it's really hard to read. A mother getting so angry about a child's reading that she hits her. That kind of experience leaves wounds that don't just go away.
What this person is describing, that's what experts call trauma. It's an event or a series of events that are just too overwhelming for a child's brain to handle. It can literally rewire their nervous system to be on high alert all the time. Imagine trying to relax when your brain is constantly screaming, "Danger!" That's what it can feel like.
Okay, now this is really interesting. Let's talk about how anxiety can overlap with other conditions. This table shows something researchers call a gender paradox with ADHD. Look at this. A meta-analysis found that girls with ADHD have a 3.2 times higher chance of having anxiety. But look at conduct disorder. The odds are a whopping 9.4 times higher. It shows how these things can be tangled together in really complex ways.
Okay, so we've talked about what anxiety is and where it comes from. Now for the most important part. What do we do about it? Let's talk about the pathways to healing. Because once you understand the roots, you can see that the answer has to be more than just toughing it out.
Check out this story about the famous German poet Goethe. Apparently, he was terrified of heights. So what did he do? He made himself climb to the top of his local cathedral over and over again until the fears started to fade. He was basically doing a form of therapy on himself, without even knowing it.
And what Goethe did is a fantastic example of what's now a cornerstone of modern therapy, exposure therapy. It's a huge part of what's called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. You work with a therapist to create a list of your fears, from least scary to most scary.
Then, step by step, you face them. The whole point is to teach your brain a new story. Hey, this is scary, but I can handle it, and the feeling will pass. Eventually, the old fear response just fizzles out. Of course, therapy isn't the only tool in the toolbox. For many people, medication is absolutely crucial. Big studies have shown that the best results often come from combining CBT with a type of antidepressant called an SSRI. Now, it's really important to note, especially for young people, these meds require super close monitoring by a doctor. And then you have other meds, like benzodiazepines, which can help in a crisis but aren't a long-term solution because of the risks.
So we have therapy, we have medication, but that's not the whole picture, which brings us right back to where we started, the power of support. What is the role of the people around that teenager? Is it tough love, or is it empathy and connect?
When you listen to the people who actually went through it, the message is loud and clear. This quote says it all. I got the tough love approach. No one needs to be this strong. For so many, it didn't feel like love. It didn't build strength. It just created this feeling of being fragile and alone.
Yeah, instead of learning how to actually cope with hard feelings, the tough love approach just taught them to push everything down, to ignore it. As this person says, it just creates a ton of baggage. That's a recipe for low self-esteem and a whole lot of problems down the road.
So what does help? What does supportive parenting actually look like? It's things like being consistent with rules and routines, because kids need that structure. It's about listening, really listening, and saying, I hear you, that sounds really hard, before you jump to solutions. It's about being a mentor they can trust. And here's the thing, this isn't about being soft or coddling them. It's about providing a solid, secure base so they feel safe enough to go out and face the world.
And really, if you take away one thing from all of this, let it be this. Both the science and the personal stories, they all point to the exact same conclusion. True resilience isn't about forcing someone to weather a storm all by themselves. It's forged by knowing deep down that you have a safe harbor you can always come back to.
So the real challenge for all of us, then, is how do we bridge that gap? How do we move from those old school attitudes to what the science is telling us today? It means we have to actually listen. Listen to the research and listen to the people who've lived it. It means choosing to support kids, not shame them.
When you boil it all down, it's a choice between two very different approaches. Are we demanding strength, or are we helping to build it? Tough love demands. Supportive love builds. And everything we've looked at today tells us that what our kids truly need is for us to help them build.